Strong jobs data coincides with mass jobs cuts. Today's January jobs report showed that 353,000 jobs were added. The unemployment rate, labor force participation rate both unchanged at 3.7% and 62.5% respectively. For more on this story, let's bring in Eddie Gifford, wealth advisor with Tactive. Eddie, welcome to the show. Were you surprised by this report, and might this mean that we may not see a rate cut as soon as many thought?
I was definitely surprised at how strong it was, but it didn't, I was kind of expecting it with Powell's tone earlier in the week. He really changed his tone when we compared that to December. And if I was a betting man, I'd say, no, we're probably not going to see a rate cut in March. And if the tone remains the same, we might not see rate cuts all year long. And that could be really bad based on what expectations have been.
Yeah, absolutely. To play devil's advocate here, some argue that the job growth hides a crucial detail. The jobs added are concentrated in less productive sectors like government. The government grew again, just like it did the past few months. Healthcare and social assistance have topped the list as well, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. There have also been recent mass layoffs announced at major companies like UPS, PayPal, Amazon, Google, and so on. Increased costs, no doubt, was a reason for that. And as Axios notes, there's been a mainstream media bloodbath of job cuts as well. Speaking of the mainstream media, it's been promoting the White House's home run narrative on the economy. It raises the question, does the composition of these added jobs and the layoffs matter?
It does. It just doesn't matter today. It doesn't matter, for the next month. What's actually happening compared to what's being portrayed are two completely different things. And to your point, the government or companies or industries affiliated with the government are the ones that are driving a lot of this job growth. And the announcement of layoffs is not the actual layoffs occurring yet. And so as those begin to pile up and we begin to see that happen, that's where there can be some real cause for some real concern. So, I feel like they're trying to just put this wrap around things and they're just trying to kick that can down the road so that this looming problem that everybody except them seems to see, that's just going to be the next administration's problem. We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to kick it down to the next administration. That's what I feel is happening.
Interesting. So it looks good now during the election year, and then the problems could arise next year. I want to ask you about the bipartisan tax cut legislation that also enhances the child tax credit passed in the House this week. It extends tax cuts originally introduced in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act back in 2017. And this extension aims to facilitate increased investment, expansion, and growth for small businesses. If the Senate approves it, could it boost good jobs and provide meaningful economic growth?
Honestly, I don't see any meaningful economic growth anytime soon. We could see kind of a sugar high, so to speak, right? The same thing happened in 2020, 2021 with massive stimulus. So yes, everything is great, right? But it's funny when you look at the small businesses, those are the ones that have been struggling, are the ones that continue to struggle. And so it could definitely cause like a sugar high, so to speak. But the way that we get this under control is we gotta get the government under control. We can't have just this reckless spending with no consequence. And I think that new leadership in this country is needed, and it's so important with what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, kicking the can down the road yet again with the government spending. Americans still report feeling that essentials like food and gas are still high. Biden touts inflation coming down after it reached a 40-year high during his term, but he continues to say that price gouging corporations are to blame for the high prices that are stubbornly high. Is, quote, what he says, greedflation, the big problem here?
Absolutely not. And that's not even an accurate statement. When people are saying that inflation is falling, that's not true. Inflation is slowing. That's true. But when you think about it, inflation stacks. And so what that means is a consumer last year was maybe paying 25% more than they were 2 years ago. Well, this year, even if inflation is 4%, it still stacks on top of that 25%, right? And that's what we're seeing is a lot of these consumers, they're paying 30%, 40% more than they were 3 to 4 years ago, and it's just not sustainable. And to answer your question about, is it greedflation? Well, the primary companies behind all of this excess appear to have like some affiliation with the government. So if anyone's greedy, it is it's the government and their partners, so to speak. So um, it doesn't look good, but it's going to look good and feel good probably for at least the next 9 to 10 months.
Interesting. Yeah, inflation is compounding. You got that right. Eddie Gifford, wealth advisor with Tactive. Thanks for your time today, as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.